My name is Daniel Rivas, and if you saw me tonight standing behind this marble security desk in the gleaming lobby of Meridian Financial Tower, you'd probably think you knew exactly who I was. Just another night shift security guard, unremarkable in my pressed Navy uniform, clipboard in hand, watching the minutes crawl by on the digital clock that never seems to move fast enough. You'd see me check badges with polite nods, make my rounds with measured steps, and pour coffee from the break room machine that always tastes like burnt regret. You'd see exactly what I want you to see. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. But you'd be wrong. The truth is, I've been living a lie for 6 months now, and tonight feels different, heavier. Like the weight of all those carefully constructed deceptions is finally settling on my shoulders the way Chicago fog settles over Lake Michigan, thick, inescapable, and cold. I stand here in this glass and steel cathedral to corporate power, surrounded by polished floors that reflect everything and reveal nothing. And I wonder if anyone can see through the mask I've worn so long, it sometimes feels more real than my actual face. At 2:47 a.m., the elevator chimes, and they emerge like predators returning to their den. Rick Caldwell leads the pack, his tailored suit immaculate despite the late hour, his silver hair perfectly styled even now. Behind him, 3 other executives I've memorized from surveillance photos, their faces flushed with whatever deals they've been celebrating at whatever exclusive club doesn't ask questions about offshore accounts. "Evening, gentlemen," I say, my voice carrying just the right note of deference, the voice of a man who knows his place. Rick stops at my desk, his cold blue eye scanning me with the casual disdain of someone who's never doubted his position in the world's hierarchy. "Working hard, rent-a-cop? Must be exhausting, watching all those security monitors. Don't strain yourself." The laughter that follows cuts through the silence like broken glass. I feel my jaw tighten, feel the familiar burn of controlled rage in my chest, but I've learned to channel it, to use it. I nod slightly, letting a flush creep up my neck as if embarrassed, and return to my clipboard. "Just doing my job, sir." What Rick doesn't know, what none of them know, is that I've been watching him for months, learning his patterns, his contacts, his weaknesses. That job he's mocking, it's hunting him. As they walk toward the elevator, I catch something that makes my pulse quicken. A brief exchange near the marble pillar. Rick slipping something small to a man I don't recognize. Dark hair, expensive coat, the kind of face that disappears in crowds. The courier pockets whatever Rick gave him without breaking stride, and they part ways like strangers. I activate the recording device hidden in my shirt collar, a gift from the bureau that looks like an ordinary uniform button. My handler, Special Agent Carla Nguyen, will want to see this. "Dispatch, this is Station 1. I murmur into my earpiece, using our code. "Package delivery completed. Courier departed via south exit." Carla's voice crackles back, steady and professional as always. "Copy that. Stay sharp, Daniel. We're getting close, and that makes everyone dangerous." Close. After 6 months of playing the invisible man, of swallowing insults and pretending to be everything I'm not, we're finally close. But as I watch Rick's reflection in the polished elevator doors, see that cruel smile playing at his lips, I wonder if anyone can see through the mask I've worn so long it sometimes feels more real than my actual face. The lobby falls silent again, leaving me alone with my shadows and my secrets, counting down the hours until dawn reveals what we're all really hiding.
Elena Torres sits in her rust-stained Honda Civic across the street from Meridian Financial Tower, watching the building's glass facade catch the early morning light like a prism. At 32, she's learned that the best stories hide in plain sight, and something about this corporate monument feels wrong. Too clean, Too quiet for a building that should be humming with legitimate business activity. She adjusts the telephoto lens on her camera, the weight of it familiar in her hands like an old friend that's never let her down. Once this same camera captured the evidence that brought down a corrupt city councilman and earned her a Polk Award. That was before the retraction, before the lawsuit, before her editor's disappointed sigh became the soundtrack to her career's slow death. But Elena knows how to be patient, how to wait for the story to reveal itself. "Tell me about the offshore accounts again," she says into her phone, notepad balanced on her knee. The former Meridian employee on the other end speaks in careful whispers, as if the company's reach extends through phone lines. "I'm telling you, something wasn't right. Meetings at all hours, executives coming and going like they were running some kind of, side business. And the security guards, they saw everything but never talked about it, especially the night guy." Her pen stops moving. "Night guy?" "Yeah, quiet type. Military bearing, Not like your typical rent-a-cop. Always watching, always listening. Made some of us nervous. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Through her lens, Elena spots him immediately. Even from across the street, there's something unmistakably precise about the way he moves through the lobby. No wasted motion, no casual slouch against the desk. His posture speaks of discipline that runs deeper than a security company handbook. "That him?" she murmurs to herself, snapping photos as he conducts what appears to be a routine patrol. But nothing about his movement patterns feels routine. Each step seems calculated, each pause deliberate. A tap on her passenger window makes her jump. A stocky man in a security uniform grins at her through the glass, his face friendly but curious. She rolls down the window. "Ma'am, I'm Marvin Brooks, one of the guards here. You been sitting out here for a while? Everything okay?" Elena forces a smile, tucking her camera out of sight. "Just waiting for someone. Meeting running late. You know how it is." Marvin nods, his expression shifting to understanding. "Yeah, these corporate types, they don't know what punctuality means. You want some coffee? There's a decent place around the corner." "That's kind of you, but I'm fine." "Suit yourself. But hey, if you're going to be waiting much longer, might want to move the car. Parking enforcement gets twitchy around here." He gestures toward the building with obvious pride. "We run a tight ship." As Marvin walks away, Elena watches him through her rearview mirror. His casual demeanor contrasts sharply with his colleague inside. Two guards, two completely different energies. One performs security, the other embodies it. She starts her engine but doesn't drive away. Not yet. Something about that precise, watchful figure in the lobby tells her this story has layers she hasn't even begun to uncover. And Elena Torres has never met a buried truth she couldn't dig up given enough time and the right questions. The hunt begins now. She walks into my lobby like she owns it. This woman with sharp eyes and a notebook that's seen better days. Elena Torres. I've already run her plates, know her name, her history, the career that crashed and burned 3 years ago over a story that couldn't stick. But knowing someone's past doesn't always predict their present, and the way she moves tells me she's hunting for redemption in all the wrong places.
"Excuse me," she says, approaching my desk with the practiced confidence of someone who's learned that direct questions sometimes yield unexpected truths. "I'm Elena Torres, investigative journalist. I'm working on a piece about late-night business practices in corporate Chicago." I look up from my logbook, letting my expression remain pleasantly vacant. Just another security guard, happy for the brief interruption in a long, boring shift. "Oh yeah? Sounds interesting.
Though I gotta say, not much exciting happens here after hours. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Really? Because I have sources suggesting otherwise. Specifically about certain executives holding meetings well past normal business hours. Mr. Richard Caldwell, for instance? The name hangs between us like a loaded weapon. I feel my pulse quicken, but keep my face neutral, years of training taking over. Mr. Caldwell? Yeah, he works late sometimes. Dedicated to his job, I guess. Dedicated enough to meet with unmarked courier services at 3 in the morning? Carla's voice crackles in my earpiece, urgent and low. Daniel, disengage. Media contact compromises the operation. Repeat, disengage immediately. But I can't. Elena's eyes are too sharp. Her questions too precise. She's not fishing randomly. She knows something. Ma'am, I just check badges and make sure the coffee pot doesn't burn down the building. If you want to know about executive schedules, you'd need to talk to someone with actual authority around here. Before she can respond, Marvin's voice booms across the lobby. Daniel, you meeting celebrities now? Should I get an autograph book? He grins at Elena. Don't let him fool you, miss. This guy notices everything. Probably knows what brand of cologne every executive wears. Elena's gaze sharpens, and I see the exact moment she decides I'm worth pursuing. In her determined expression, I recognize something familiar, the relentless need to uncover truth. Consequences be damned. It's like looking in a mirror, and that terrifies me more than Rick Caldwell ever could. Tonight, the lobby transforms into something from a magazine spread. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over Chicago's elite, all gathered for Meridian Financial's annual charity gala. I watch from my post in among them, a necessary fixture like the marble columns or security cameras. They flow around me in their conversations about vacation homes and portfolio diversification, and I absorb every word, every gesture, every subtle exchange that might matter later. That's when Rick decides to remind everyone of their place in his hierarchy. Ladies and gentlemen, his voice cuts through the elegant murmur, projecting across the lobby with theatrical confidence. I'd like everyone to meet our evening's silent guardian. Our security professional here keeps us all safe from the dangerous threat of unauthorized elevator usage. The laughter ripples through the crowd like a disease, sophisticated chuckles that sting worse than outright mockery. A board member in a red dress actually applauds. I feel heat crawl up my neck, the familiar burn of humiliation that Rick seems to specialize in delivering. But I've learned to smile through it, to let my shoulders slump just enough to sell the performance. Just doing my job, Mr. Caldwell, I say, voice carrying the perfect note of a man who knows he's been diminished, but lacks the power to respond. Near the champagne table, a young man with nervous energy and an ill-fitting suit watches the exchange with uncomfortable fascination. Aiden Price, according to his security badge, one of the summer interns. His expression suggests he idolizes Rick, but something about this public cruelty doesn't sit right with him. Rick moves through the crowd like a shark, all predatory grace and calculated charm. But I'm watching for something else entirely. And at 9:23 p.m., I see it. A subtle handoff near the elevator banks, Rick palming a flash drive to a man with salt and pepper hair and expensive shoes. The exchange lasts 3 seconds, practiced and smooth. Aiden sees it too. His eyes widen slightly, confusion flickering across his young face, but he says nothing. Carla's voice whispers in my earpiece. Target acquired. That drive contains transaction records we need. Retrieve it. But Daniel, maintain cover at all costs. I nod slightly, already calculating angles and opportunities. Rick may think he owns this room, but some shadows run deeper than others. The hunt intensifies. The lockpicks feel familiar in my hands, muscle memory from bureau training sessions that seem like a lifetime ago. Rick's office door yields after 30 seconds of careful manipulation, the mechanism clicking open with a sound that seems impossibly loud in the empty 42nd floor corridor. It's 3:17 a.m., and according to his patterns, Rick won't return until morning. according to his patterns. I should have known better than to trust patterns. His office is a shrine to ego. Mahogany desk, leather furniture that cost more than most people's cars, and enough awards and certificates to paper a small room. But I'm not here for the decor. The flash drive has to be somewhere accessible, somewhere Rick can grab it quickly when needed. I start with the obvious places: desk drawers, filing cabinets, the small safe behind his diploma. My hands work systematically while my ears strain for any sound from the hallway. The building's night sounds become amplified: the hum of air conditioning, the distant rumble of the freight elevator, my own heartbeat drumming against my ribs. That's when I hear the elevator doors open. Footsteps in the corridor, familiar and purposeful. Rick's voice carries through the walls, and he's not alone. I have maybe 15 seconds before they reach the office. The desk is too obvious, the closet too small. I slide behind the heavy bookshelf just as the door opens. "Moving the accounts by Friday," Rick says, his voice sharp with urgency. "The journalist's been asking questions. Someone's leaked information about the courier runs." My blood turns to ice. Elena. They know about Elena. "How much does she know?" The second voice belongs to the salt and pepper man from the gala, the one who received the flash drive. "Enough to be dangerous. We need to accelerate the timeline, transfer everything offshore, and close the Chicago operation. Clean slate." I press myself deeper into the shadows, barely breathing. This is the break Carla has been waiting for. Confirmation of the offshore operation, evidence of their panic, proof that we're close enough to make them run. Rick's phone buzzes, the ringtone cutting through the tension like a blade. "Caldwell?" In the moment he turns away to answer, I move. Silent steps toward the door, heart hammering. Knowing that discovery now means more than a blown cover, it means Elena's life might be in danger. I make it to the stairwell as Rick's voice fades behind me, my hands shaking as I lock the partial evidence I've gathered in my security locker. Close doesn't begin to describe it, but close is all we have. The diner smells like coffee that's been sitting too long and dreams that never quite made it off the ground. At 7 a.m., it's the kind of place where shift workers grab breakfast, and insomniacs pretend that staying awake to dawn was always the plan. I chose it precisely because it's forgettable, the kind of establishment where two strangers can have a conversation without anyone caring enough to remember their faces.
Elena slides into the booth across from me, her investigative instincts sharp enough to have followed my carefully worded text message. She looks tired, but alert, like a hunting dog that's caught a scent. In the harsh fluorescent light, I can see the determination that's kept her going through 3 years of professional exile. "You're not just a security guard," she says without preamble, sliding a manila folder across the scarred Formica table. "The way you move, the way you listen, the way you appeared in that stairwell last night like smoke. So, what are you?" Last night. She saw me. Of course she did. Good reporters have a talent for being in the wrong place at exactly the right time. I study her face, weighing risks against necessities. Carla's voice echoes in my memory: maintain cover at all costs. But costs have a way of escalating, and Elena Torres represents something I can't access on my own. Financial records, paper trails, the kind of documentation that exists in databases I can't touch without revealing federal interest. Let's say I have a vested interest in seeing certain people face consequences for their actions, I tell her, letting my voice carry just enough edge to suggest depths she hasn't yet plumbed. And you're right, security isn't my primary skill set. She nods slowly, opening the folder. Richard Caldwell. 6 shell companies registered in the Cayman Islands, all with identical business addresses that turn out to be empty office suites. Transaction patterns that suggest money laundering on a scale that would make cartels jealous. The documents spread between us like a roadmap to Rick's empire. Bank routing numbers, corporate filings, photographs of properties that exist only on paper. Elena has done in 3 days what the Bureau has been struggling to document for months. How did you... Sources. People who got squeezed out, people who got scared, people who developed consciences at inconvenient moments. She leans forward, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. But I can't access the transaction records themselves. They're buried behind firewalls that require warrants I can't get and connections I don't have. I meet her eyes, seeing my own hunger for justice reflected there. It's a dangerous recognition, the moment when you realize someone else shares your particular brand of obsession. Then we help each other, I say. But this stays between us. No one else knows we're working together. No one. She extends her hand across the table. Partners in shadows. I shake it, knowing I'm crossing a line Carlo would never approve of. But sometimes the right choice and the safe choice are two different things entirely. Aiden Price has the kind of face that hasn't learned to hide anything yet. At 22, fresh out of Northwestern with a business degree and student loans that follow him like shadows, he sits across from Elena in the building's small cafe, practically vibrating with nervous energy. From my position near the coffee counter, I can hear every word of their conversation while pretending to read incident reports that lost their relevance hours ago. "So, you're writing a positive piece about Meridian Financial?" Aiden asks, his voice carrying the eager uncertainty of someone who still believes good intentions automatically lead to good outcomes. She smiles with the practiced warmth of someone who's learned that honey draws more truth than vinegar. "He seems very dedicated. Working late hours, handling complex transactions. That must give you quite an education in how real business gets done." "Oh yeah, he's always here. Sometimes I stay late too, trying to learn from him. Last week, I saw him handling this important file transfer, and I thought..."
Thought what? Elena's voice remains gentle, but I can see the hunter's focus sharpening behind her eyes. I probably shouldn't say. It's just, I was curious about the file format, for my own learning. So I might have... He trails off, looking around nervously. "I made a copy, just to study the structure. I know I shouldn't have, but I deleted it right after." The lie comes easily to him, the natural instinct of self-preservation, but I can read the truth in his body language. That flash drive's contents are sitting somewhere on his personal laptop, a digital time bomb he doesn't even understand he's carrying. "That's very dedicated of you," Elena says carefully. "Self-directed learning is so important in business." Before Aiden can respond, Marvin's voice booms across the cafe. "Daniel, there you are, man. I was looking for you." He approaches our corner with his usual grin, then notices Elena. "Oh, hey, you're that reporter from yesterday. Still working on your story?" "Something like that," Elena replies smoothly. Marvin turns to me with a knowing look that makes my stomach clench. It's funny. My buddy Daniel here has been acting all mysterious lately. Late-night phone calls, disappearing into stairwells, now hanging around journalists." He laughs, but there's genuine curiosity in his eyes. Starting to think our quiet security guard has some secrets. I force a cuckle, playing the role of the slightly embarrassed colleague. "Just trying to be helpful, Marvin. Professional development, But as I watch Aiden's increasingly pale complexion and Elena's calculating gaze, I realize we've reached a crossroads. That young intern holds evidence that could destroy Rick's operation or get him killed, and he doesn't even know he's carrying it. Time to make a choice that will protect him whether he wants protection or not. The assignment comes down from building management at 6 p.m., delivered by a supervisor I've never seen before, with the kind of crisp efficiency that makes my instincts scream warnings. Marvin gets pulled aside, handed a clipboard and some keys, told he's needed for a special overnight security detail at the construction site 3 blocks away. Emergency coverage, they call it. Critical infrastructure protection. "Lucky me, right?" Marvin grins as he shows me the paperwork, but I can see the confusion in his eyes. It's weird they picked me instead of one of the regular guys. That's when I know. The cold certainty settles in my stomach like a stone dropped in dark water. This isn't random assignment. This is Rick making his move, using my friend as bait to draw out whoever's been watching him. I want to grab Marvin's arm, tell him to walk away, make up some excuse about food poisoning or family emergency, but I can't. Not with questions I can't answer, suspicions I can't afford to raise. So I watch him gather his equipment and head for the door, every instinct I've developed over years of undercover work, screaming that I'm about to lose someone else who trusted me. At 11 p.m., I drive past the construction site. 3 unmarked sedans parked in positions that offer clear sightlines, professional spacing, communication equipment visible through tinted windows. This isn't building security. This is a surveillance nest designed to catch whoever comes to check on Marvin. My earpiece crackles to life. "Carla, they're tracking unusual vehicle activity around your location. What's your status?" "They're using Marvin as bait. Unmarked vehicles, professional setup. This is a trap designed to flush out their surveillance problem." A pause. Then, "Can you maintain cover?" I watch Marvin through my telephoto lens, sitting alone in a trailer with lights blazing around him like a beacon. He's reading a paperback novel, completely oblivious to the hunters positioned in the shadows around him. My friend. My responsibility. Negative. If this goes sideways, Marvin becomes collateral damage. I can't let that happen.
Daniel, think carefully. Blowing your cover compromises 6 months of work, the entire operation. Authorization to protect civilian asset by any means necessary, I interrupt, using the formal protocol that overrides operational security. Repeat, civilian protection takes priority. Another pause, longer this time. When Carla's voice returns, it carries the weight of a decision that will change everything. Authorized. God help us all, but you're authorized. Do what you have to do. I check my weapon, verify my badge is secure in my jacket pocket, and start the car. Time to stop pretending. Rick strides into the lobby at 7:15 a.m. like a man who owns not just the building, but the very air inside it. His face carries the satisfaction of someone who believes he's just outmaneuvered his enemies, and in his mind, he probably has. The construction site operation went exactly as planned. No one showed up to rescue the security guard, which means whoever was watching him lacks the resources or connections to mount any real threat. He's wrong, of course, but he won't understand that for another 30 seconds. "Well, well," Rick announces to the morning shift staff gathering for their daily briefing, his voice echoing off the marble walls. "Our dedicated night watchman is still here. Tell me, Rent-A-Cop, did you have a restful evening? No strange urges to take midnight drives around the city?" The implication hangs in the air like poison. He knows. Knows I drove past the construction site, knows I spotted his surveillance team, knows I chose to walk away rather than compromise Marvin. In his mind, that proves I'm exactly what I appear to be, a security guard too scared or too stupid to matter. Around us, a dozen employees pause their morning routines to watch the show. The intern Aiden stands near the elevator bank, his young face uncomfortable with the public cruelty. Elena Torres positions herself near the windows, camera ready, sensing that something significant is about to unfold. "Actually, Mr. Caldwell," I say, my voice carrying a different quality now, the tone of a man who's tired of performing weakness. "I had a very productive evening." I reach into my jacket pocket, feeling the weight of the leather case I've carried for 6 months, but never opened in this building. Rick's eyes narrow slightly, some survival instinct warning him that the dynamic has shifted, but his arrogance won't let him process the danger fast enough. "Special Agent Daniel Rivas, Federal Bureau of Investigation." The badge emerges in one smooth motion, gold shield catching the morning light streaming through the lobby's floor-to-ceiling windows. "Richard Caldwell, you're under arrest for obstruction of a federal investigation, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit financial fraud." The silence that follows feels like the moment after lightning strikes, when the world holds its breath waiting for thunder. Rick's face cycles through disbelief, recognition, and finally pure rage as the implications crash over him. That's impossible. You're just a security guard?" I step forward, letting years of buried authority surface in my posture, my voice, the way I move through space. The lobby erupts in motion. FBI agents pour through the main entrance, their tactical gear a stark contrast to the building's corporate elegance. Elena's camera clicks rapidly, capturing every moment of Rick's downfall. Marvin appears from the stairwell, his face a mask of shock that slowly transforms into something like pride. "Daniel, you magnificent, sneaky bastard."
Rick's hands shake as I guide them behind his back, the handcuffs clicking with finality. 6 months of humiliation, 6 months of swallowing insults and playing the fool, all leading to this moment of perfect, controlled justice. "The rent-a-cop sends his regards," I whisper in his ear. 3 weeks later, I sit in a different cafe. This one bright and welcoming, with windows that let in actual sunlight and conversations that don't require encryption. Elena slides into the booth across from me, her laptop bag heavy with the story that's going to resurrect her career. The front page of the Tribune already carries her byline. FBI agent's 6-month masquerade brings down corporate crime ring. The DA says Rick's cooperation is buying him a lighter sentence, she tells me, stirring sugar into her coffee. 15 years instead of 30. He's giving up everyone, offshore contacts, shell company operators, even some city officials who looked the other way. I nod, watching Aiden approach our table with the careful steps of someone still adjusting to witness protection protocols. The kid's testimony about the flash drive contents sealed 3 additional indictments, and his courage to step forward probably saved his life. He looks older now, worn down by depositions and FBI interviews, but there's something solid in his eyes that wasn't there before. "How's the new job?" I ask as he sits down. "Good. Weird being the good guy for once. Thanks for getting me out of there before things got really ugly." Before I can respond, Marvin's laughter booms across the cafe as he spots our table. He's still working security at Meridian, but now he tells everyone who listen that he used to be partners with a federal agent. The story gets more elaborate each time he tells it. "My FBI buddy!" He claps me on the shoulder, with enough force to rattle my teeth. "You ready for your next undercover gig? I heard from Carly you're getting reassigned to some high-rise in Detroit. Please tell me I get to be your backup again." I laugh, feeling something loosen in my chest that's been tight for months. "We'll see, Marvin. We'll see." Carla's voice echoed in my memory from our debriefing. "Outstanding work, Agent Rivas. Your cover held perfectly until you chose to break it. That's the sign of a professional who knows when the mission serves the greater good instead of the other way around." Looking around this table, at Elena with her renewed purpose, at Aiden finding his moral center, at Marvin's unshakable loyalty, I realize she was right. Sometimes justice isn't about maintaining the perfect cover. Sometimes it's about choosing the right moment to reveal who you really are.